We are live. This is the market update. Is the current administration cooked? If so, are we witnessing the best case scenario for crypto? Literally, right? The optics, geopolitically, terrible. The optics, Los Angeles, terrible. The optics, budget, terrible. The American right abandoning the orange man, like everyone jumping ship, terrible. How does terrible come to an end? Either with normies realizing, hey, enough, I'm going to crypto, or it could be, and I've got an article on this, it could be an institutional blank you, meaning Bitcoin and gold go up so much, that's what changes people's behavior. And that's not new. As a matter of fact, that's very old. In past markets have been critical in making sovereigns change their minds about bad policies. So naturally, we'll give you the geopolitical breakdown. Nothing is what it seems, although, it seems clear what they want from a rhetoric standpoint. Let's hope the art of the deal still lives. People have gotten bearish enough, the orange man. Let's hope he's got one trick up their sleeve, and this is not what it looks like. I think in either case, even if there's a scary dip, the Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and XRP case, frankly, gets better every day. All right, let's welcome who's here. The loyal warriors. We have Ben from Down Under, Zepedas, SG, the original. Yav, Tyler Hall. Yeah, we got a lot of news coming out of the Middle East. We'll try to break it down. Blown Ideas. Kevin is from Florida. Welcome. Thomas, hello. Zach, what's going on? Right? This is a part of your daily routine. Thank you. Rumor has it. Well, not rumor has it. The fact is, one person I know used to turn on the market update, and their baby used to watch it as they ate their Cheerios. Miguel, oh no. Jacob, welcome. Okay, news, let's go. Okay, when you lose Alex Jones, you're cooked. Okay, Alex Jones is a conservative commentator. Let's just say due to bizarre legal problems, he's very dependent on staying on good terms with people like the Orange Man or Elon Musk, right? And when Tucker Carlson questioned what was going on, he's a conservative American news commentator. The Orange Man fired back. And then everyone started to question what's really going on. Because only what would be considered the fringe right, which is no longer the fringe right, were the only people A, predicting and B, questioning this. The Orange Man's popularity has taken a nosedive, which will be great because he'll have to pivot back to crypto for real eventually. Also, it does opens up the avenue for a positive surprise. Fingers crossed. I do think this is like, other events in the past where you've got to live with 10 days of fear before it ends. All right. This isn't complacency, but idiocy on steroids, says a guy who is bearish the stock market, and he's not wrong. Right? The assumption that this all has a very tidy end is not a good assumption, at least from an optical standpoint, right? In other words, I think everyone expects the Iranians to go quietly into the night. They're led by a radical element, and it's been that way for a long time. So if you back an animal into a corner, you can expect that animal's going to come out and defend itself. I mean, everyone is acting like this is some kind of video game, right? Oh yeah, we beat a couple bosses. I don't think this has gotten to fight the final boss stage for people who play video games. Now, the latest indicator, which will undoubtedly be manipulated by our intelligence community, but it's still funny, sort of, is the curious case of the Pentagon Pizza Index. The unlikely war oracle, how pizza orders predict global conflicts. So you now have a Twitter site called the Pentagon Pizza Report with 124,000 followers. What am I doing wrong? Okay. So with 20 minutes until close, Domino's near the Pentagon are seeing a huge surge in activity as of about 11:43 Eastern time. And another case, Freddy's Beach Bar is reporting slightly above average traffic. So now we are tracking pizza and establishments around the Pentagon. Can you believe it? Actually, I can. It sounds like a intelligence community thing where they use it to get everyone wound up, divided, and fearful. But, if everyone in the Pentagon is ordering pizza because they're staying up all night, it's got 120,000 followers. People are now paying attention to it, and it may have some merit. Okay, the Orange Man. So he leaves the G7 summit early. Is there anything to talk about at the G7? Considering everybody else is, oddly run by characters that were unpopular, at least with freedom-loving people. Right? I mean, Trump walks in and what did he have to say? Well, guys, just kidding about whatever. Or they just all agreed and I've got that tweet and he walks out. They actually might have all been in agreement, which is scary, but very bullish crypto. Okay, so, if you're living in Tehran, this is not a good statement. President Trump says he's looking for an end, a real end, not a ceasefire, an end. I mean, that sounds like they want to turn Iran into a giant rubble pile. Because, that was the end in Syria. That was the end in Iraq. I didn't think we wanted this, but guess what? We do. Now, the hope is, and we'll kind of like weave this through. Okay, so this is either what it is, like they're going to flatten the place, or it's art of the deal where, you go to an absolute extreme, like the tariffs, get everyone really upset, then you come back to the center. In this case, I don't think people are taking this seriously enough as to, like Israel wants them gone. So I don't know how that's going to work, but I do know that fear is our friend. It is, right? Super scary dips is our friend. Complacency is not our friend. This market's not going to be able to mount a rally in a complacent environment. We need fear. We need a dip. We need everybody out. We need everybody upset. And then we need everybody to realize, hey, we got to find a different system. We got to find a different way. Okay. Cyber could be next. That could be why everybody at the Pentagon is eating pizza. This has not occurred to people yet at all. So we got all the cast of characters involved from the American deep state. So yesterday, we had the Wall Street Journal claiming that there were peace overtures and that the Iranians were wanted peace. And that was completely not true, as reported by Al Jazeera and everybody else. And my guy, Just Dario, says, you know what? There would have been a day with the SEC where that would have been securities fraud. Trying to manipulate markets, trying to get everybody to think everything was all right when it wasn't, because it wasn't true at all. At all. Not one substantiated piece of information. Again, so who's releasing that? Who wants you to think everything's fine? Who's lulling you to sleep? You know what I'm saying? The last time we listened to the guy from Israel, we wound up, with a $7 trillion war in Iraq. Again, everybody on the American right is jumping ship as fast as they can. Right? That's what's going on. Everyone is afraid that this is all about regime change. It's the same old song and dance. Now, my attitude is if it is the same old song and dance, it's going to get way more violent than it is right now. And two, when it concludes, you're going to have the most incredible case for crypto you've ever had. Ever. And, frankly, I think if you look at this, I think people are looking for an escape route, probably from the Middle East, which is why perhaps Monero and Bitcoin Cash both rallied in advance of whatever's going to go on here. I'm wondering if that's Middle Eastern capital looking for an escape. Seriously. All right. So I listened to this podcast last night. This, for anyone who's not an American, this is Tucker Carlson, he used to work for a conservative outlet that turned out to not be conservative, more aligned with the American forever war deep state guys. And he had a conversation with another right-wing influencer, okay, a guy named Steve Bannon, who, is a big fan of, no more wars. This guy, no more wars, right? Fixing who can come here and who can't as his two big issues. And they're sort of lamenting that things right now are not that way, that the biggest problem in America is actually in Los Angeles with this who can be here and who cannot be here. They believe this thing in the Middle East conveniently occurred right as that situation in Los Angeles was flaring up. These guys also believe that things like New York, Los Angeles, called sanctuary cities, could be the grounds for an American civil war. I hate that because that's Ray Dalio's spiel, and I'm always looking to counter that. But this guy could be right, that the real battle is who can be here and who can't be here because of how that affects elections. Now, I just managed in like 6 sentences to say every word that you shouldn't say. However, when you listen to this, it took him an hour and a half to say the words America first. Okay. And remember, Tucker's dad, was intelligence community. They sort of talk about that here, and it's very convenient that, it seems like everyone is turning on the orange man, but this guy made some great points about, they either get this turned around now because they can't get it turned around with the orange man. It'll never get turned around. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the case for Bitcoin, right? In other words, if this turns out to be, if the orange man really drops the ball or drops the agenda and the optics, it's not what the optics now, it's what are the optics when it's over, right? If it's over in 13 days, and even if, the bad Iranians allegedly are done bad, everybody in the Middle East seems to be bad these days. The optics could undermine the entire administration, which is concerning because if they can't change things with what the orange man was promising, when are they ever going to change things? And if they can't, then I mean, that's got to be the greatest case ever for a completely alternative system, also known as Web3. Okay, so I don't know if this is real or not, but obviously everybody in Tehran, Iran, is getting the memo and leaving. I can't believe after what they saw that they waited. It's like, what? The one thing you can say about Israel is that they're consistent. It's like when they want to take you out, they take you all the way out because they bring us in with them. Okay, so Iran is after Mossad, that is the Israeli intelligence service. Probably the best intelligence service in the world, pound for pound, as they say in UFC. Okay, again, I think the Iranians, whatever equipment they have, they got to use it or they're going to lose it. That unto itself is scary. Okay, so Orange Man to reverse order excluding farms, hotels, and restaurants from ICE raids. It's like, dude, you got 10 million people in multiple cities, and it's pretty obvious that these, quote, sanctuary cities that, that they're going to resist. I mean, you knew that, right? And it's funny. It's not the people going that are resisting. That's what's funny. It seems to be like our citizenry are the ones that are resisting the agency that handles this. And now the orange man is authorizing guys in SWAT gear to tackle people picking strawberries. Again, optics, right? I mean, okay, sit here. It's a crypto show. We can sit here and debate politics. Who cares? We care about optics. Tackling people picking strawberries is not what it's about. It's about what goes on in like New York and California. I mean, basically the Steve Bannon thing, California is like a runaway republic. California has effectively left the United States by telling the federal government that they don't want to do what they're told. It doesn't work that way. Seriously. Like the guy said it, like California has left the union. For anybody that knows, the rhetoric from our last Civil War, they've left the union. Gavin Newsom, the governor's like, come arrest me. This is a point of concern for the dollar. And this will moon Bitcoin. How long we're going to take to get there, I don't know. But this is not the time to give up on crypto or, get negative just because it flies back and forth in a range, which we'll cover on charts. Okay, so Texas Patriot, cool profile pic. If the orange man takes us to war, I'm done. I voted for no wars, cheap gas, no taxes, cheap groceries, and make America healthy again. What of these things has happened? I'm not happy. Conservative influencers. Orange man completely fractures his base. Truly unbelievable. So people aren't getting bearish the market. They're getting bearish the administration and America, which could be extremely useful for crypto. Extremely useful. Now, if you really want to kind of puke in your cereal bowl this morning, you will see that our intelligence community is now telling us that, the Iranians were years away, that the orange man is unhinged. That's what they're saying, right? They're embarrassing the president. It's like, hey, guys, if this was really the facts, how come we weren't telling anybody about this before the Israelis attacked or right after? Like, what? Why? You telling us now with like every battle group we have being sent over there? Come on. These are not the good. These are not, they don't have your interest at heart. I'm sure there's people over there who are patriotic, but come on, man. It's its own beast. Its own beast, right? And then you know what? There's only one answer to that beast, and it's already being written about. The old man's not making it up. This was Tulsi Gabbard 90 days ago. It's not happening. So Tulsi told you 90 days ago, okay, Iran is not building a weapon. Okay, great. Terrific. It's kind of like the Iraq war where, we don't even try to hide the phony baloney. We're not trying to hide it. Oh my God. G7 states Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Wow. It's so awesome that we agree with, nothing personal out there, Germany, France, Canada, the UK. You realize that those governments, not the people, the governments, Germany supposedly has a right-wing government, but if you say the wrong thing on Facebook, you're in trouble. Now, I'm Italian, and the Italian prime minister seems, beautiful, frankly. And I can't believe we would come down on the Japanese because they got serious problems. And they were nice enough not to blow up the yen carry trade. But the rest of these characters, like, I don't know that I want to be in agreement with this group on much, honestly, except that the dollar needs to go lower. That's what really needs to happen. This thing, these guys weighing in on geopolitics. Wow. Everybody's an expert on geopolitics now. This is not the company I want to be keeping, honestly. 70% of bank profits now come from Fed handouts. It's not a free market. It's a rigged casino, and you're covering the losses. So the Fed hikes rates to 5%. Banks are long a bunch of bonds yielding 2% and 3%. Fed prints money, hands it to the banks. Again, so many things that can go wrong. So many things can go wrong. Gold defaults, silver defaults, bank losses. It never ends. It never ends, and this is going to all add up to the Minsky moment where everybody goes, this is not a normal world anymore, and I'm buying crypto. All the whole normie herd is going to come in all at once. All at once. Gold to decrease below $3,000 an ounce in upcoming quarters, says Citibank. Now we know who has a short position and can't cover it. There is somebody out there who is short gold and can't cover it. There is. And it's a U.S. bank. Or somebody is caught in the COMEX situation between people who have an IOU for physical gold and the amount of physical gold that is actually out there. Someone is in the middle, and it's a big U.S. bank. Someone guarantees that people are going to be made whole. It's called a clearing bank. Guess we know which clearing bank is hosed other than JP Morgan. I mean, you know, if you have gold at $5,000 an ounce, where's Bitcoin? Senator Bill Hagerty says passing stablecoin legislation will propel America's payment system into the 21st century. After 8 years of crypto, 8 years of persecuting crypto, congressmen, you know, all these like slick hair guys are like, oh, wow, I'm only going to get the sugar from my district if we could issue more treasuries. Oh, who wants treasuries? Stablecoin companies. Wow, you mean stablecoin companies mean more sugar for me? Oh, wow. I totally support that. I roll. Oh, the great state of Texas. Texas Governor Sunday will either sign or veto the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve Bill. If he doesn't do anything, it automatically becomes law. God, please don't embarrass me. Please don't embarrass me. Please. Right? Especially if they give you a shot at buying it at like 104 or 102. Please don't embarrass me. Do not veto this. Right? California left the union. Excellent. Right? Texas can buy Bitcoin, and we could send the Texas National Guard to California to make them understand that they are actually a part of the United States and don't get to do the whole George Soros, we're not listening to you thing. Other than that, I don't have much of an opinion. Can we please pass the law? Somebody in the world has to not be stupid. Please. Please. So I can sleep at night. Okay. The XRP ETF is now trending on X. Thank God. Real XRP news. Okay. They had to get it done in Canada. Actually, there's something very bullish on the tape today about the Solana ETF. I'm gonna show you. I didn't see it. The Eagle King found it. This is bullish when this is over. Like seriously, stable coins are going to pass. You're going to have $1 trillion worth of stable coins come in like right away. Ethereum, XRP, and Solana. Circle is already on XRP Ledger. I mean, this is like happening. It's happening. Risk model shows that Bitcoin liquidity is hitting, that Bitcoin is in its last parabolic phase. We expect a bear market. Don't worry about the bear market. Worry about hanging on until this really goes. You may have to wait for Bitcoin. I don't think you're not gonna have to wait for altcoins. You may have to wait for Bitcoin, but man, when this goes, it's going to be spectacular. But again, everyone knows that. So JP Morgan files for JPMD trademark for crypto payment services. Markets are due for a pullback. JP Morgan turns tactically cautious on equities. So the guy who sold it here and bought it here is now no. I don't want to do it. In other words, I could have been right the first time. This could be in a range, right? It could just be in a range. You know, the orange man with stocks up has plenty of room. And again, it's really hard to believe that everybody was worried about the apocalypse down here on tariffs, on stuff that was never going to go through. It was never going to happen. That's the end of the world. Now up here, you have something serious that could happen. It could last 10 days, and people are acting like it's a nothing burger. I don't know. Strange. Okay, now the headline of the day, only Bitcoin and gold can stop governments from destroying the currency. more words you can't say. There's something in bonds called the bond vigilantes. Once upon a time, and I was in this market in the 90s. Once upon a time, if the government came out and said something about fiscal policy, I remember we did this to Jim Baker. Government came out and said something about fiscal policy or budgets that we didn't like, sell. Bonds would tank and they'd turn it around. They'd stop. You know, Soros did things early in his career. You know, the Europeans were trying to do something where they were, you know, trying to keep their currencies in a band. It wasn't terrible, but it didn't work. And Soros broke it. And then he got addicted to breaking things and kept going. But that's beside the point. There is a long storied history of markets being a powerful force going, you know what? We're not doing this anymore. 250K Bitcoin is, you know, like all these governments are like, well, we love Bitcoin. It's great. Yeah. Until it embarrasses you. Then you won't like it as much. I'm going to like it. You're going to like it. They may not like it, especially if they're stupid and they don't buy it at 104. God, our sovereign wealth fund had a shot to buy it at 77. I hope they did. I hope the tariff money is slowly going into Bitcoin, right? I can't believe Michael Saylor is the only big buyer. I can't believe we're not doing it. I really can't. But that's okay. They don't have to do it. They didn't want to buy it at 77. They don't want to buy it at 104. They can buy your bag at 250. The spot XRP ETF comes to Canada first. Amazing. Galaxy Digital had to go public in Canada. Good for them. Good for them. Okay, so just to make sure we all understand, the Orange Man has not reached out to anybody. This guy's been, you know, pretty radical and into things like martyrdom for a long time. I don't see him turning around and running away. I'm sure he's scared, but their MO would indicate that if you back them into a corner, they're going to fight. Okay. ETH. Very interesting that Wolf of Wall Street points out that ETH has been in a very tight range between the 50 and 200 week moving averages. That's classic ETH, by the way. Classic. The sideways quiet range. ETH can either be much quieter than you think or much louder than you think, especially when it goes. ETH is a stablecoin highway for it's a highway for all of finance. All these big layer twos, Matic, Optimism, Arbitrum. Oh my God. Base. It's endless. You could run all of finance on ETH, and you're going to need to. You're going to want to. You're going to want to, because again, the horrendous optics are our friends. So short of a world-ending event, which I don't think is going to happen, right? Short of a world-ending event or some sort of like massive proliferation, once they get done with the optics here, crypto wants to go. Crypto wants to go now. I just think, you know, there's a little bit of following equities. There's kind of a range. You know, people are frozen in their tracks. Once this is over, especially altcoins. I think altcoins more than Bitcoin. ETH hits all-time high in staking. 35 million ETH locked. Alongside this, accumulation addresses, holders with no history of selling, have also reached an all-time high. Hello. Like, where's the ETH supply for BlackRock? I don't know. Retail, hedge funds, you know, whoever is puking out ETH after watching it go down, where's the supply? I don't know. I don't know. Is Vitalik and those guys going to sell? I think they were done selling. They sold at 3,500 and they don't want to sell anymore. They shouldn't. Who's the seller? Again, quiet ranges in ETH. Unbelievable how low this went. But we're afraid ETH's going to go down to what? To what? 1,900 so we can buy more? I don't know. Come on, man. Now, this is not priced in. Eagle King sent this to me, and I was like, wow, what does that mean? I know what this means now. Okay. So normally, what does the SEC do? What would the SEC normally do with something like Pump.fun? Gensler would take them to court. They'd have an enforcement action. Everybody would get arrested, or they'd have civil suits. Okay. So if you're going to have a Solana ETF, you have to get rid of Pump.fun. You have to get rid of it. Done, right? It's a stain on the Solana reputation because, it was fun and interesting at one point. Now it's a disaster, right? People are going in and they're getting smoked. So get ready to laugh. So you have to do this for the integrity of Solana so you can have a Solana ETF, right? So X suspends crypto meme coin platform. So Pump.fun is done. The founder of Pump.fun is done. Major crypto Twitter suspensions. All the affiliates and partners done. Black day for Pump.fun and the whole Solana ecosystem. So rather than call the SEC or rather than have the SEC have to drag everybody into court, just call Elon and say, shut them all off. Just shut them off. And that's their way of protecting retail from whatever it is that they do, where, people are harming themselves or harming other people in order to get attention for their meme coins. It's the Solana ETF. Also, I'm sure this is not their intention, but I'm sure they probably want people trading I don't know, established, decent, liquid, I don't know, non-rug pulls, stop the rug pulls for the sake of the Solana ETF, and it could make the meme market a lot better. Just makes the meme market better, right? If we can get meme coins out there where everything is not a rug, it's actually protecting the people. Now, I don't much care for censoring speech. They didn't like the Twitter feed of my favorite meme coin. But this is the Solana ETF is the bottom line. It's the Solana ETF. Uniswap. Okay, so when the whole world comes to DeFi, the protocols may actually make more money than ETH. That could be Uniswap, Maker, Aave. Okay, Maker is now Sky. Maple, now Syrup has been parabolic lately. Okay, Sonic, formerly Phantom, discount zone. Nothing going on. I don't think DeFi is going to just be 3 protocols. Okay, gold mining stocks at resistance. Time for crypto stocks? It's let the whole big blow up happen over there, right? It's kind of ironic that this Luxalgo support point is still there. It won't be if oil closes down. 200-day moving average in equilibrium in crude is at 68. There isn't going to be a terrible disaster if oil is not reacting. If oil reacts or if oil spikes to 100, then you're going to have your final scare. Your final scare is the dip to be bought. And I think if there is a final scare or a shock in equities, even if it's a 2-day shock, you're going to see the Fed. I think the Fed is in here now. Okay. I think the Fed is in here now. Solana versus Bitcoin. Solana versus Bitcoin at its discount zone with people puking. You got heavy puking in altcoins versus Bitcoin still. A lot of these coins, I'm just looking at altcoins today, a lot of stuff's down 5-7%. I don't know. We talked about this yesterday, right? The Fed is in, but we're waiting for the final dip. Now, if you look at the 4-hour chart, right, we were looking at XRP yesterday, right? So, XRP has been zooming around, 9 bottoms, 9 tops. Here's your 9 top, right? They bust it down. So you have ETF euphoria and then they hit it. I don't know. I say wait for the next 9 bottom. 2-3 days, maybe. Just let them hit it. It's a range, right? Range trading, trending breeds itself. also known as trends last longer than you think. Absolute do nothing, boring ranges like what ETH is in, that lasts longer than you think. And these range trades last longer than you think. Traders just keep doing it. Everyone's convinced there's going to be a breakout. They buy the top, they sell the bottom. Traders just sit there and eat it up. The trading community is just eating you up. Right? That's why a couple weeks ago I said, hey, find a trader. You know, he'll let you know when stuff's breaking out. In the meantime, this is just what they're doing. They're going back and forth. Now, I mean, again, XRP, Solana, Ethereum, I mean, the case for these things is just overwhelmingly bullish. It's overwhelmingly bullish, right? Okay. So Cathie Wood moving out of Circle. That's interesting. Okay. So it came out at 30. Cathie Wood is selling it at 151. Okay. Now, the fact that Circle went to 151 means, you know, XRP is worth, it should be at $10. Or the value of Ripple is 30 billion, 50 billion. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's like, you know, billions in magnitude. And Cathie Wood's like, I'll take my profits. Now, she took profits in NVIDIA and it kept going forever. I don't know what the value of Circle is, but obviously, if the crypto market is valuing the stock market is valuing stable coins at this level, and people in crypto are packing it in, well, that's crazy, right? Look at this. Uncle Sugar has reportedly closed $125 billion in Trump cards. They have a path to $1 trillion in revenue if 200,000 people sign up. Oh, yeah, these are these citizenship cards. Right. So, like, I guess that's your new passport. $5 million to be an American citizen. You know, that's why people are trying to get away from wealth distribution and insanity. You know, I know there's a lot of stuff going on, but probably should take a moment to be grateful to live here, because, you know, people who have money are going to get that money confiscated somewhere else. And that is eventually going to be over here. Not now, but eventually. Eventually. You're going to have to know stuff about privacy. You're going to have to know stuff about crypto. But what we would just love to happen is let all the groups fight each other. Let them create the optics. Let them rebel in California, and let Bitcoin put a stop to it all. That, ladies and gentlemen, is really called the government pumping your bags. We will see you tomorrow.